Thank you very much for this opportunity to share my ideas, some of my ideas related to the question, is the Turkish-Azerbaijani aggression against Karabakh has genocidal threat, genocidal component. And let me share my screen. I prepared PowerPoint. And so on October 3rd, Armenia's Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan, in his address to the nation, stated that the objective of Azerbaijani Turkish bandits is not about claiming territory. Their objective is the Armenian people. Their objective is to continue their genocidal policy. And later he had also stated on Twitter, why has Turkey returned to the Southern Caucasus 100 years later to continue the Armenian genocide? And this idea that the Armenian people are in danger of genocide was repeated in many other statements and interviews by Armenian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Armenian President, Armenian Prime Minister. And sometimes we can have a high hunch and feeling that it's just the usual thing that Armenians always identify such war situation as an existential threat and usually tend to connect it with genocide. But I think that in this case, in the case of ongoing war, the inclusion of the term genocide is not being loosely thrown around. The potential for genocide against ethnic Armenians in Artsakh is very real and highly probable. Societies that committed genocide and massacres in the past tend to repeat them, according to famous, well-known in genocide studies, a study on genocide prediction and prevention of efforts by genocide scholars Barbara Harf and Ted Gur. And we know that Turkey perpetrated genocide against Armenians in 1915 and 1923. Azerbaijan committed genocidal acts in Sumgait, Baku, Ganzak, and Maraga in 1988-1992. And the likelihood of genocide in such countries increases if these crimes are not acknowledged or condemned, but even glorified. And Turkey Turkey continues to deny the Armenian genocide, making the rhetoric even more aggressive in recent years, even blaming the victim, suggesting that Armenians massacred Anatolian Muslims, even women, children. It was done this year on 24th of April. And simultaneously, various officials, including Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, have repeatedly hinted that Turkey is ready to resume giving a lesson to Armenians. Thus, the president of Turkey declares that the deportation of Armenians in 1915 was the most reasonable decision at that time. It was done in March this year. I mean, this statement. During one of his last speeches in May 2020, he stated, "We will not allow the leftovers of the sword and terrorists to revolt again. They still exist, although their number has decreased in our country." As Turkish journalist Uzay Bulut mentioned, the use of leftovers of the sword does not represent a denial of massacres or genocides. On the contrary, it declares the pride of the perpetrators. It means, yes, we slaughtered Christians and other non-Muslims because they deserved it. For their denial that Turkish authorities justify the Ottoman crimes and also promote new genocides, this approach cannot be spread to, spread to society, bolstering the image of Armenians as enemies. All public opinion polls show that the bulk of the population in Turkey has a hostile attitude toward Armenians. Hate speech and attacks against Armenian churches and other properties are on the rise. The last notable incident in Turkey was the targeting of Armenians in Istanbul, blaming them for, it's of course ridiculous, but supposedly spreading coronavirus in Turkey. So it should be emphasized that this attitude goes even behind hostility. When being called an Armenian is considered an extreme insult, reaching the level of racist, anti-Armenian intolerance. The most remarkable was the Prime Minister Erdogan's case when speaking in 2014 about others insulting him. In the interview, he stated, "I was called a Georgian. Pardon me for saying this, but they said even uglier things. They called me an Armenian." Let's come to the Azerbaijan and the position of the Azerbaijani leadership and society is more representative, is more aggressive. For years, anti-Armenian discourse, state media that demonizes Armenians, presenting them as an absolute evil. In his many speeches, Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev himself made openly racist, xenophobic remarks. In one of his famous addresses, he spoke about hypocritical global Armenian conspiracy and Western politicians who are embroiled in corruption and bribery. I cannot identify this as a direct reproduction of Adolf Hitler's global Jewish conspiracy thesis, reiterated many times in Nazi speeches as a pretext and justification for the Holocaust. In his pronouncement, Aliyev deprives Armenians of the rights to live in Artsakh and even in the Republic of Armenia, asserting that not only Karabakh and also other regions of Armenia, including the capital Yerevan, should become parts of Azerbaijan. The latest highlight was the menace of nuclear catastrophe made by Azerbaijani Defense Ministry spokesman who announced that their weapons are capable to hitting the Metsamor atomic energy station with high accuracy, which will turn into catastrophe for Armenia. And the problem is not only this anti-Armenian rhetoric, but also its consequences. Such hatred toward Armenians leads to the glorification of killing. I will talk about it later, but just some examples of this hate speech with incitement to the violence. You can find these statements in the website of President of the Azerbaijan. For example, the way it's going, Armenia will soon perish from the world map, or Armenia simply carried formal existence and it's artificially marked on the world map as an independent state. Armenia is an independent state which is not capable of determining its own future. A lot of statements made by other representatives of political elite and spiritual elite. For example, some words of the spiritual leader of that state. Dishonesty and betrayal are rooted in Armenian genes. Or Armenianhood is a unique, evil, and hateful phenomenon. Or Armenians are my internal enemies. Whether I see an Armenian, I will cut their tongues and publicly denounce them. All these speeches were done by public figures in public places without any punishment. And this impunity, it's not just impunity, it's even glorification of anti-Armenian attitude. So let's come to the case you of course know. It's very famous about the glorification of even murder. You of course, all of you remember a murder that happened in 2004 in Budapest with when the Azerbaijani officer Emil Safarov during the NATO training program entered the hotel room of Armenian officer Gurgen Markarian while he was sleeping and axed him to death. Safarov, you know the story, Safarov was sentenced to life imprisonment in Hungary, then later transferred to Azerbaijan, where he was released and honored as hero. But what interesting for me is public attitude to this event. Azerbaijani human rights defender Elmira Suleymanova stated that Ramil Safarov should become an example of patriotism for the Azerbaijani youth. In other statements, you can see, for example, it was stated that it's very touching to see the son of the homeland, which was thrown in jail after he defended his country's honor and dignity of the people, and other statements about this. And this widespread hostility and hatred created an utterly genocidal attitude toward Armenians. We all remember that elderly Armenians were violently tortured to death in the village of Talish during 2016 war, and handicapped child and woman were killed in Hadrut during this war in territories which were overrun by Azerbaijani troops, and captive Armenian soldiers were beheaded and their bodies were brutally desecrated. In all these previous and ongoing wars, Azerbaijan has always targeted peaceful sentiments. All and everyday shelling of civilians in this war. All of this proves that Armenians face slaughter if any Armenian territory is occupied. Genocide, let's come to the last part of my presentation about the connections of now the ongoing war and genocide convention. Genocide convention, you know, humanity is continuously confronted with a disturbing confusion, I guess. Genocides become the subject of coverage, discussion, I don't know, study, remembrance, and sometimes condemnation only after they are successfully implemented. It happened not only with the Armenian genocide and the Holocaust, but also with the destruction of people that took place in the age of mass media, just online, in online regime. In Rwanda, in Yugoslavia, in Darfur, and in the Zide homeland in northern Iraq. But at the same time, Article 3 of 1948 United Nations Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide clearly defines that committing genocide itself is only one but not the only crime that can be punished under the convention. The others include conspiracy to commit genocide, direct and public incitement to commit genocide, and attempt to commit genocide, and complicity in genocide. For a long time, all these actions have been neglected, and even while being an integral part of the Genocide Convention. Moreover, they are not commonly considered as genocidal by the media, in political vocabulary, and even in academia. Meanwhile, the slogan "Never Again," adopted by the international community and repeated so often that it is, I think, devalued even, refers to all types of genocide crimes, and not only the last, and irreversible stage, the elimination of the target group. Observing the discourse of the Azerbaijani and Turkish leadership, analyzing the sentiments in the societies and elites of those countries, and remembering the actions already taken, it becomes clear that they can be considered not only as warning signs for genocide, but also as genocidal in nature themselves, as conspiracy to commit genocide, direct and public incitement to commit genocide, and attempt to commit genocide, which, according to the United Nations Genocide Convention, are acts that all states of the world are obliged to prevent and punish. Thank you.